Tommy Chandler, and I'm here with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel, expert in the field. When we talk about a war on terror and global jihad, you served how many tours over in the dirt?
Well, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Iraqi freedom, and also enduring freedom in Afghanistan. So I guess I do kind of understand this guy.
So when we talk about the war on terror, and the jihadis talk about a global jihad that they're waging against the Western culture, and President Obama has said that the war on terror is over with the States of America.
Well, first of all, I got to tell you, by President Obama standing and saying that the war on terror is over is absolutely naive and is appeasement in the highest form. It's much the same as Neville Chamberlain coming back from meeting Hitler and saying we'll have peace in our time. And, of course, we know what happened about 2 years later after that. It's not over. And the first thing is, when you say war on terrorism, that's a terrible misnomer, because terrorism is a tactic. You can't fight a tactic. It would be just like saying in World War II we were fighting the Blitzkrieg or we were fighting kamikaze. No one has clearly defined and articulated who this enemy is. No one has stood up and said it's radical Islamic ideology and the states that are sponsoring it. These terrorist groups are just their means of foot soldiers, but they get around being declared an enemy because these are non-state, non-uniform belligerents on the battlefield, and that's how you have to see it. But you also have to look at how do we put the pressure on them economically, how do we put the pressure on them through websites and using the internet, because they're killing us there with their recruiting and getting their information. We've got to start shutting them down. We cannot allow them to come into our country and proselytize in their mosques, talking about overthrowing our government, our constitutional democracy, saying they want to replace it with Sharia, and then we say, well, that's okay, that's freedom of speech, that's freedom of religion. That's not, it's sedition. So we've got to understand that this battlefield is just not overseas. This battlefield is here. One of the things I tell the people in South Florida, how many of the 9/11 conspirators lived right in South Florida and took their flight training in Opelika? This is not going away. See, there are two ways that you end a war, and you understand this being prior military. You win or you lose. You just don't sit up there and say, we don't want to play anymore, because the other guy is going to continue on. And what we don't realize is the absolute determination that this guy has, because this radical understanding of Islam has been around since 622 AD. It is totalitarian, it is imperialistic in its designs, and just because you don't want to play does not mean he's going to go away. So I hate to tell President Obama, get ready, because you're going to have to come back and solve this thing sooner or later. Just because you say, hey, we quit, those guys are not.
Right. Mm-hmm. And how do you engage an enemy that's willing to die with no qualms about that, die for what they believe in? How do you effectively engage in that and still keep a modicum level of casualty on our side? I mean, we definitely don't want to fight a war of attrition on this. Yeah. But do we lean a lot on technology? I know when I served, we had a Commandant's Warfighting Lab to develop new techniques and tactics. Absolutely. Is the Army working to develop new techniques and tactics where we can engage these folks, basically play football? If they call out football rules, we're going to play football, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is, when you say, how do you fight against a guy who is willing to die, you grant him his wish. Okay, that's the thing that we have to understand. You kill these guys, and you just continue to put the pressure on. One of the things that I saw in Afghanistan, I was there for 2.5 years, I don't care about a border. If they don't respect the border, I will not respect the border. And I will tell Pakistan, you keep them over on your side, but I will pursue this enemy wherever he seeks to establish any type of sanctuary, any type of training camp. I will cut off any of his funding or any of his manpower, logistical resources that are being shipped to him. That's the holistic atmosphere, the holistic thinking that we have to have behind fighting this guy. It's not just it's the Al-Qaeda or is this guy. No, there is a radical Islamic ideology. There are the states that are sponsoring it, and these terrorist groups, wherever he is in the world. If he's in South America, we got to track him, we got to find him, fix him, engage him, destroy him. And that's the message that you have to send out as the Commander-in-Chief of the United States military.
And do you feel like the President of the United States currently, when we talk about no one in the world is going to care about American sovereignty except us, but it seems like he might be placating to Europeans or something like that, and I'm going to take a softer approach, or I'm just going to be lackluster in my execution of the against these jihadis that have declared war on us. Yeah. Do you feel that he really is kind of placating and not directly looking after American security and sovereignty?
This is the bottom line. We elected a person to be president and has no leadership qualities whatsoever. Every time he had a hard decision, being a state senator, being a U.S. senator, he voted president. There is no button in the Oval Office for voting president. You have to make a hard decision. As the president of the United States, you are ultimately responsible, just the same as I was in the action I took in Iraq. You have a moral obligation to protect the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of the American people. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And that means you identify the enemy and you protect us no matter where we are all across the world. That's what should be his number one focus. Obviously, it's not. And once again, when I look at the precedent that was established, calling Mahmoud Abbas as his first phone call, Al Arabiya TV as his first interview, signing executive order to shut down Guantanamo. What that tells me is for some odd reason, this president is kowtowing and appeasing this radical Islamic enemy. I don't know why. I hope it's not because he got campaign contributions from them, but if it is, he needs to be run out of Washington, D.C. on a wagon.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel.
Thank you. Absolutely.